Welcome to Padworth Waste Management Facility. We've got a bit of a behind the scenes sneak peek for you. We're all good at doing our recycling, aren't we? We'll put the tin cans into the recycling, the glass bottle, the cardboard boxes, and then it's collected by the lorries. Beyond that, possibly you don't really think too much about where it ends up. But today we've got a bit of an insight for you, because here at Padworth, this is where all of the materials that you put into your recycling get sorted and sifted and go on to be recycled and have a whole nother life. So let's take a little bit of a look around. The lorries, once they have collected all of your material, they'll come in here. The first bay they stop off at is this one here. This is where all of the glass comes in. Glass jars, glass bottles. It will all be dropped off, quite a crash, quite a loud noise when it comes into these tipping hall bays. And then the lorry will move on down the track onto this next bay here. Round the corner, we have got the paper and the cardboard, which all comes in. So here in West Berkshire, all of the residents will put together their recycling in separate little pockets. The glass goes into one, and the cardboard, the paper, that goes into a separate area. So that will get taken away as well. That will go onto a paper mill where it will then become more cardboard, more paper products. There's one more bay down at the end here. This is where the mixed content will end up. So you've got plastics, you've got tin cans, and it's all landing up in this final bay. Now these are the ones which all need sifting and sorting through. And in order to do that, there is this enormous machine behind us which is going to sort through all of those different materials. It looks like a great big roller coaster for all of that recycling. The materials will be dropped off, first of all, in this hopper right at the end. Oh, we're whizzing around here, aren't we? This hopper at the end here is where it starts its recycling and sorting journey. It will go on up the conveyor belt, a bit like that roller coaster, just getting ready to go through all of the different sections. And the first place that it will reach is the cabin. And we've got some pickers inside the cabin who will be looking for anything that is large, anything that might get trapped in the machinery, any big long cables or anything that shouldn't be there, the obvious big starting points. The next thing that will happen is it will go through a glass shaker, a big metal plate which has got holes in it. It will go up and down at quite a speed, so any glass that's not already been taken out and sorted into a separate box, well, that's going to break and shatter, and that will be taken out so it doesn't cause any disruption to the machinery, doesn't rip any of the conveyor belts, anything like that. So the glass is taken out at quite an early stage. Beyond that, we then see it rising again further still. Right at the peak of this machinery is where there's an overband magnet. Now that's going to sort through the cans. Anything that's steel, so dog food tins, baked bean tins, soup tins, all of that will get attracted by the magnet. Anything that's aluminium, though, will get sifted away. So your tin cans for your pop, your beers, your Cokes, that kind of thing, that will all go separately. And it goes through a second cabin again. Any of those cans that have been scrunched down, or they may just have a little bit of plastic that's got caught up in that kind of thing. So that will be sifted out by another pair of eyes, another pair of hands. We continue our journey along, and we're going to go right up to the top here, Tom. We're going to look at that little grey cabin. This is the optical sorter. Now, the optical sorter is a very clever piece of technology, and that is looking for a material of a certain density, a certain colour, and it will work out what doesn't meet those criteria. And in order to then get rid of those, it uses jets of air and pushes them out of the way. So that final sorting point is for the plastics, and it then goes through one more cabin, that final cabin where we have further pickers who are sifting through, just to double check, make sure that there isn't anything untoward on that final conveyor belt. We're going to come back to that one in a minute, because we've got a specially mounted trash cam over that final conveyor belt where we have some pickers checking for those final items to make sure all the plastics go to the right place. Now, once it is all sorted into different bunkers, we're going to take a little walk down to the end of this tipping hall here, and you can see just on my left we have got some bales already. All of the material, once it's been sorted into like materials, is then compressed into these bales, and it's done so through the baling machine. It's static at the moment. there's no activity because while we are on the floor in here, of course, we can't have the machine running. It simply would be too noisy, too dangerous as well. So that's why we are now going to make our way out of the facility round here, because we're going to set this plant into action. I'm not in charge. Jason is in charge. Jason, how are we set? Are we ready to start the plant? All good. We've got the thumbs up from Jason. Things are going to get really noisy now. You'll hear some sirens going off. You'll hear the machinery start to whir into action. There it goes. So we're going to take you out into the yard now. This is where all of the vehicles will come and load or unload all of their material. Now it's really quiet actually at the moment because there are plenty of bin lorries probably doing the rounds. I saw some coming through Tadley on the journey in this morning. They're picking up all of the material. This yard will get much, much busier as we get later in the day, because we'll have those bin lorries dropping off all of those different items and bringing them here to be sorted. So round we come. And we've got some examples. We can take a little bit of a closer look at some of those bales that have been put together, compacted, compressed, and these will go on now to find new life. So the first one here that we've got is the paper, the cardboard, lots of packaging there that you might have had deliveries. There's some washing detergent in the mix there, some boxes for different items. I can see a beer box in there. As we look further down, we then get into our plastics. Now the plastics have to be sorted separately. They can't mix the coloured and the clear plastic. So first of all, this is predominantly milk bottles, lots of white plastics in there. You can see some laundry detergent again. And then further down, we've got another bale, this time for our clear plastics. And here we have got your pop bottles, your trays that might contain meat, that kind of thing, some water bottles as well. Finally, the last bale along is where we've got all of our tin cans. These are our drinks cans, lots of fizzy pop in there, some ciders and some beers and things like that as well. Now we can hear the rumbling of the plant next door just starting to get going. And actually we can now cross over to our trash cam. Let's see if this is going to show us some of the activity of what is happening. The trash cam is situated above that conveyor belt, which is in cabin 3. That's where they're picking and sifting and sorting through all of those different materials. Now, a key part of what those pickers will be looking out for in all 3 cabins will be items that shouldn't be recycled. And in particular, there are some things that people will put in their recycling hoping can be recycled. That's called wish cycling. And one of the big tricky ones that they have to look out for is vapes. Now vapes are becoming much more popular recently, so there are lots of them being disposed of. And actually, if those end up going in your curbside recycling, they can cause a bit of a hazard. They pose a bit of a threat because of the way that they are built. They are a danger. When they go into those compacting machines, the batteries, the lithium ion and all of those materials that are involved in vapes and other similar items, they can pose a fire hazard. And in fact, Veolia, which runs lots of sites up and down the country, well, they say they have around 1 fire on average every single day because of materials like that. So really worth bearing in mind, checking for your local council details as to what can and can't be recycled in your curbside collections. Vapes and the like can be recycled. They can go on to be reprocessed, but they do need a specialist facility to go to. You can take your vapes back to the store, the retailer that you bought them from. They offer a take-back scheme, or you can bring them to places like this, which is a household recycling facility as well. So the household recycling facility here, you can bring all sorts. You can bring your garden waste, you can bring other large items that need repurposing or looking to go elsewhere. So you can bring items like that to those household recycling places. Now you might be asking yourself, well, is it really worth it? Me, as an individual, as a family, as a household, is it really worth me doing a little bit of recycling? The answer to that is yes, because it all adds up. This facility here processes 30 1,000 tonnes of recycling every single year. So all of those individuals, those families, those households who are doing their little bit to put a little bit in the recycling each and every week, that's all adding up to make a huge difference and taking that material out of landfill. You can just see, actually, there's bin lorries that are starting to move around the plant now, so we're starting to get a little bit more activity. Those lorries will start to hear things moving with the glass being unloaded and the tins and the cans and all the rest of it come crashing down. So we'll start to see a bit more activity here at the site over the next few hours. Let's just have a look at some of these items. We've got a few little bits and pieces down here, thinking about what we can and can't recycle. Some of the tricky things, well, we've got our tins, we've got our cans, those ones, they can go in your recycling, they work really nicely. The plastic bottles, we've got those, they can be recycled as well. We've seen those clear bottles all be put in together. And cardboard as well, nice and easy. That makes up a big bulk of what is recycled here. There are some tricky ones though, so the Tetra Paks, they're not always accepted in your curbside recycling, but they can be recycled in some parts, so worth checking out whether your local facility does offer that recycling. Here's one little tricky one. So we think we've got our glass recycling, bottles absolutely fine, but this is one of your Pyrex dishes that you would use for your cooking to put some meats or potatoes or something in the oven. These can't be recycled. Now, you may look at it and think it's just a piece of glass, but actually, because it's treated in a certain way so that it can be in the oven, out of the oven, it's really got that temperature tolerance, which means it can't then be melted down and recycled in the same way that you can do for your glass bottles. So those Pyrex dishes, they need to be regifted or repurposed or given elsewhere. So lots and lots of different items coming to this plant, coming to this facility, and really going to the right homes, going on to be recycled and turned into something new, given new life.
The apron is not part of the protocol. You always have to show this, but we don't want to make this dirty. That's the reason why I just put it on like that.
my dirty jeans. Oh, thank
You
you.
could like this. Yeah, that's okay.
Thanks. Thank you.
Welcome to Padworth Waste Management Facility. So you've remembered to do your recycling, you put your bin out the night before, the next morning you hear it making its way down the street. Your end of the recycling bargain is done, but that's not where it stops. This, if you live in West Berkshire, is where the next part happens. The recycling happens from the moment it hits the floor here. Now the lorries will arrive, they will deliver the glass, which has been pre-sorted, and on it goes into this first bay here, bay number 1. That's where you will find your glass bottles, your glass jars. Paper and card is the next thing along in this second bay here. This is roughly 50% of the rubbish that they have when they are sorting through all of the material that's coming from those recycling boxes. And then on to this third and final bay, and this is where the real sorting is going to need to take place. This is the plastic, this is the tins, this is the cans, all of which will need to be sifted through. And in order to do that, it's going to go through a rather mammoth process courtesy of this waste recycling facility. So it starts its journey in the hopper up the great big conveyor belt all the way through some different machines so that each of the items are properly sifted and sorted into containers that are all alike. So then you can see what happens is they'll then be put into these bales down here, all of them coming together. So we can see over here we've got the plastics, we've got those milk bottles all stashed together, and further along the brightly coloured ones, the pretty ones here, are the tin cans, the aluminium cans, the fizzy pop, all of those fizzy cans of drink. They have been baled and bundled together so that they're all ready to go on to a new life, all ready to be recycled. And this is the baling machine just at the end here. This is where it all gets compacted together and put into those nice neat bundles, ready to be taken on to its next destination to become something brand new. Now, the plant has been quiet because we are on the floor here. We can't have it operating while we're here. So we're going to step outside in order for this plant to get moving. And we're going to do that with a little bit of help from Jason. Afternoon, Jason. Afternoon. Right, are we ready to start the plant? Yes, right, let's get the plant fired up. Jason's going to get that moving for us. Here go the alarms. We're going to take you outside while we do that. We have got our special trash cam. Now, the trash cam is soon going to spring into action and show us some of those conveyor belts which are being sifted through, some of the material which is being picked and processed so that it's going into the right pods, the right pockets. And that trash can will soon start to see plastic milk bottles, shampoo bottles, different types of plastic that will be rolling through. They have to be separated because the coloured plastic and the see-through transparent plastic can't be recycled together. So those two things are going to be split out and delivered separately. Now, this waste management facility handles all sorts of different things. The glass is taken out to another facility and that will become new glass products. The paper and card goes on to a paper mill, and again that will go on to new paper and cardboard products. The plastics and the tins, they're all sorted separately. And in order to do that, the machine will have to sift through. So the journey from that first hopper, it'll go up the conveyor belt, it'll go along through a cabin, and those pickers, those members of staff, will be sifting and sorting through, taking out the big items that could cause damage to those conveyor belts, like the trash can conveyor belt. Now, as we get through to the next stage, we can then see the glass shaker. That's going to shake a big metal plate so that any bits of glass get broken up and fall through. So they're no longer a hazard on the conveyor belts. As those conveyor belts continue to see all of the waste materials going through, there is a magnet as well, which will pull out all of the steel cans. So we're talking dog food cans, baked bean tins, those kind of things, soup cans, any fizzy pop, any drink cans, they will go separately. They're made of aluminium, so they will be sifted into a different bunker, and then they can go on to be recycled as well. Then it's the plastics. Now, there are different types of plastics, as I was saying earlier, so they all have to be sifted and sorted separately. and they will be sorted by colour and sorted by density using an optical machine. It's a very clever bit of tech which will suss out which bits of plastic it wants to keep, and the ones it doesn't, it will use jets of air to pulse them out of the way, and those plastic items will then be sorted into the right area. So it's a complex task to make sure that all of the recycling is done. How satisfying is this to see all of these different individual cubes of recycling, all of which are ready to now go on and find new life. So when you're thinking, should I put my milk bottle, should I rinse it out, put it in the recycling? Is it worth it? Well, it's a question that people may well be asking. Why me? A little individual me, my family, my household. Should we really commit to this? Well, the answer is yes, because this plant, this facility here, they are recycling around 30,000 tonnes of waste every single year, saving all of that waste from going to landfill. So instead of those few little items in your own household bin going into landfill, they're actually all coming here, all being sifted, sorted and bundled up into these great big cubes, ready to go on to find new life. Now, one of the big challenges here at the waste recycling facility is when people do what they call wish cycling. Wish cycling is a term that they use here on site, and that means that people are putting things into their recycling that they hope might be okay to recycle. Some of the big hazards that they face with wish cycling are things like vapes, anything with batteries, lithium-ion batteries in them, any rechargeable batteries. The problem with these, when they go into the waste recycling lorries, when they get compact, they can be flammable. So the Veolia sites that they have up and down the country, they're dotted all over the place, they report around one on average every single day throughout the whole of the Veolia sites. So there is a huge hazard to putting those items into the waste. Those items can, however, be recycled. So it's not to say they can't be recycled, but not through your curbside collections. You can take them to your household waste management facilities, so you can take them there and they can be disposed of there, or something like a vape you can return to the retailer. So you can take it back to the retailer and they do a take back scheme, which means those items can be safely recycled and repurposed. Now, the trash cam facility that we've got here is fantastic. It's quite a mesmerising little journey, watching those hands speedily whip those things off the belt which shouldn't be there. So the human pairs of eyes which we have, making sure all of those different bits of plastic are being recycled and put in the right areas. They're keeping an eye out for things that shouldn't be there as well, including things like those vapes. But once in a while on those lines we see little items crop up like children's toys, toy cars perhaps, which have snuck into the recycling. They're not to be recycled. There's a little shelf of trophies of those little toy cars that the waste recycling team have plucked out there. There are one or two things that we can just have a little look at that can't be recycled at the moment, and just going to pull you down here. Come take a look in on these ones. So we've got your tin cans, we've got your bottles, we've got your cardboard boxes. We're happy that all of these tin cans, bottles, cardboard boxes, they're all safe to pop in your recycling. Things that can't be recycled, although you might pop your glass bottles or glass jars into the recycling, you can't actually pop your Pyrex dishes into the recycling. Now, the reason for this is because they've been treated and coated in a special way that means they can tolerate those high temperatures as they go in the oven. But actually it means that they can't be melted down at the same temperature as the glass bottles and jars might be. So those items simply can't be recycled. If you no longer need it, if it's broken, it's something to go in the landfill. So little items like that can cause a bit of confusion. There are some other items, things like these Tetra Paks, those kind of things, they can be recycled, but not often through the curbside recycling. So it's just keeping an eye on what your local council offers as to whether it can be recycled with you or not. But they can be recycled, just not exclusively everywhere across the country. Now this site here, there are all sorts of different things. They've got the household waste management scheme. They've also got a huge composting facility. So when all of that food waste comes back to them, the composting facility can look after it. All the garden waste, the green waste that is collected, all of that can be transformed and then it's used in other ways. So it goes through a special process. It goes into tunnels and they use air and temperature and water to really make sure that that is being treated in a proper way. The temperature has to get up to 65 degrees centigrade to get rid of any bugs, any E. coli, anything nasty that might just be loitering on any of that food waste. And once it's gone through that process for about 8 to 12 weeks, it can then be turned into a compost type material, a fertilizer, which can be taken on to companies which will look after land. They might look after big gardens, they might look after golf courses, and they can spread that onto those land spaces and make sure that the nutrients are going back into the ground as well. So there are all sorts of different avenues that the recycling is happening on this plant. It's incredible to see it in action and incredible to see what a difference it is making. So the team, they are very busily taking their way, picking their way through all of the plastics, all of the different materials that are on the belt. And they're going to keep going, keep working their way through to make sure all of those materials are going to the right home. Welcome to Padworth Waste Management Facility, where the recycling of West Berkshire is sifted, sorted and sent on to find a whole new lease of life. We are here in the tipping hall. This enormous space is where those lorries will pull up and they will bring the recycling that you have put into your curbside collections through the course of the week. They're all separate. So here in West Berkshire, the glass is put in one separate container and then it lands in this bay here. Now, through the course of the day, this pile has grown and grown and grown. Bottles and jars all piling up. Those will go on to be melted down in another facility and be turned into more glass products. On along then to this next bay, and this is where the paper and the card is put together. Of course, that is separated as well on the curbside collections. The paper and card makes up for about 50% of the recycling that comes into this space. And again, that will then go onto a paper mill where it will be processed and turned into more paper and card products. The final bay along here, come take a look at this mountain. This is full of the mixed recycling. Now, this is a combination of plastic and tins and cans, all those different items, all those different things that need to be sifted and sorted. They're about to go on a recycling journey in this enormous space. They begin in the hopper behind me. That hopper is where they will be popped onto the conveyor belt and up they go. They will journey northwards onto the recycling plant. Now, at the moment, this recycling plant is still, it's quiet, it's not in action. It has to be safe for us to be wandering around on the floor here. But through the course of the day, they will be working their way up, along and all the way across the top. They're sifted into different areas so that all of the like materials are put together. And then once they are baled into these cubes. Take a look at these. They are fantastic. All of those milk bottles gathered together, all of those cans, those aluminium cans in one place. And it's courtesy of the baling machine just tucked away around the corner over here. There is a baling machine which will compact and compress all of those recycled goods once they are all tucked up together as one item. Now, as I say, this space has been quiet, has been turned off and shut down so that we can wander around. But come this way, we're going to meet Jason and he's going to start the plant for us. Let's just check. Jason, how are we doing? Are we ready to start the plant?
We are indeed.
Yes, we are. We're going to go for it one more time. It's about to get noisy. We're going to work our way out of here. And in the meantime, you're going to take a look at Trashcam. Here goes the siren. So Trashcam is our camera, which is situated just above one of the conveyor belts that's inside the plant. That Trashcam will soon start to have some items on it, which will be sifted through. Now, there are pairs of hands which will be whipping away any items which don't belong. So it'll be working through all those different types of plastic and making sure the right plastic is going to the right home. Really important that the plastics are kept together. Now, we're outside the plant now, and we have got a selection of those cubes behind us. So those bales, all of those compacted together. We've got all the cardboards here, some of the packaging that you might have, deliveries, some washing liquid, washing detergent boxes in there, some of those big crates that you get. The next one along, well, we've got the white plastic here, the milk bottles that you would have, as well as some of the detergent bottles. Those white plastics all together, the plastics need to be in the same space. Then we've got the clear plastic bottles. Now that's your fizzy pop and your water bottles, any of those trays that you might put your meat in. And then finally, the prettiest of them all, the colourful one down here, this is the tin cans, the aluminium ones, so the ones which are fizzy pop, those kind of soda drinks. Now, through the plant, there are many different ways of sorting through all of the different waste. The first section will be to sort out if there's any extra large pieces, anything that could get jammed in the conveyor belts. So the first thing that happens is it will go through a cabin and there are human beings in there taking out those big items which might be a risk. Then it goes to a glass shaker, a big metal sheet which has got lots of holes in it, and it pulses up and down so that any glass that's accidentally made its way chain will be broken and sifted through and it falls through to the bottom safely out of the way so the rest of the recycling can continue on its journey upwards. Then it goes through a magnet process. So any of the tin cans, the steel ones, so dog food or baked beans or soup tins, they will be lifted onto the magnet. Any of the other metals, the aluminium, will fall through, so they get separated there. More cabins, and this is where we've got our trash cam. We have got our trash cam looking at some of those pickers who are sifting through, making sure that the right plastics are getting to the right places. There's another very clever bit of machinery that's helping those people who are picking. It's called the optimal sorter, and that is looking at the density and the colour of the plastics and making sure that the right items are going to the right zones. The ones it doesn't like, well, they will be blasted out of the way with jets of air. So this facility is using lots of really clever techniques to make sure that all of those different items will be recycled in the right way. Now, what is the point of doing your own little bit of recycling? Does it make a huge difference? An individual, a family, a household? Well, the answer is yes, because this facility here, it caters for the whole of West Berkshire, and in doing so, across the course of the year, it recycles around 30,000 tonnes of rubbish. That's 30,000 tonnes that would otherwise have ended up in landfill. So 30,000 tonnes being recycled, repurposed, going on to find new life, to do something new. So this site is making an incredible difference. Now, there are household waste areas as well here, so you can come here and dispose of those large items if you've been doing some gardening perhaps, or if your washing machine's broken down, you can bring those along. There's a clothing bank as well, and this site caters for all of the food waste that comes in through West Berkshire. So the food caddies, when you put your food waste out, that will come here, and along with the green waste, the garden waste, that will all be put through a composting process. And actually it takes 8 to 12 weeks. It has to go through some rigorous tests to make sure that it's gone to the right temperature. It has to be about 65 centigrade to get rid of any bugs, any E. coli or anything like that that might be resting on the food waste. And then it will become a fertiliser product which can be used for things like lawns and for golf courses to really put the nutrients back into the soil. So every corner of this site is offering something new, something a little bit different to be able to make sure all of that waste is recycled and put to good use. Now, our trash cam is in full swing, and it's quite mesmerising, isn't it, to watch those hands nipping in, picking out any of the unfamiliar items that shouldn't be there. There are some items that we have that are put into curbside recycling, which people think maybe that'll go, maybe that is worth being recycled, and this is referred to on site as wish cycling. Wish cycling is when you put those items in that you hope can be recycled. One of the ones that's pretty tricky actually when it goes into the curbside recycling are things like vapes, because they've got lithium-ion batteries, and those can be pretty tricky when they go into a big compression. So when they're crunched up, they actually pose this fire hazard. Now, Veolia has loads of sites all the way across the country, and they report about one fire per day on average because of issues with lithium-ion batteries being put into the trash, and other batteries and small electrical appliances and things like that. So there are lots of hazards for putting things in. So very much go with caution and make sure that you check out your own council, see what is good to be recycled and what can't be recycled. Come take a look. I've got a couple more items down here we're going to have a little look at. Now, we've got our tins and cans, of course. Yes, we're happy to recycle our tins and cans. Fine. We've got, ooh, hello, plastic bottles. Clear plastic, yes, that's going to go in just fine. And cardboard boxes, they are fine to go in as well. There are some items, you've got your Tetra Paks, which aren't always recycled through different councils. Some of them will, so make sure you check out whether they are suitable to be recycled. We've got paper as well. Now, we've got the gift wrapping paper. Sometimes this can be recycled, sometimes it can't. Depends whether it meets that scrunch test challenge. And this one, yes, it stays as a ball. If you've got glittery products on your wrapping paper, if you've got shiny products, and it pops back out when you try and scrunch it up, can't be recycled. That has to go to landfill. one last one. When you're thinking about recycling your glass, so your bottles and jars, absolutely fine. But this one here, if you're having a clear out of those kitchen cupboards, your Pyrex dishes, they can't be recycled. These have been treated so that they can handle the heat when they're sitting in the oven, cooking your meat or your potatoes. They've been treated in a special coating. They can't melt down at the same rate as a normal glass bottle. So that can't be recycled. Any of those that are chipped past their best, they are going to landfill. I'm just about starting to hear some noise behind us now. The final truck of the day is heading into the waste facility. It's going there to drop off the last of the glass, the paper, and all those mixed plastics and tins. In a moment, you might just hear the sound of the glass come crashing out. And across the yard behind us as well, you can now see there are lots and lots of lorries all lined up. They're in for the night now. They've done their rounds through the course of today. First thing tomorrow morning, though, they will be back out on the roads going to do some more collections, bringing the material back to base and making sure that all of that stuff can go to the right place to find a new home.